I'd like to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled monthly meeting of the Village of Ortonville, Village Council. It's now 7:02 on Monday, May 22nd, 2017. At this time, if we could all rise for the pledge and the invocation. Keith, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Gracious God, we thank you for each blessing that you have given us this day. We remember back 240 years ago when a group of patriots gathered as elected representatives declaring that they were tired of taxation without representation. We now remember them as the founding fathers of this great nation we call the United States. Now in the week ahead, we once again stop to celebrate the conviction and costly dedication of all toward the cause of liberty and independence. Remember the bravery and often fatal commitment of those who helped us continue the experiment we now know as a representative democracy. Through the years, thousands have stepped up to preserve these same liberties. We remember their sacrifice. Now we too are being asked to build upon that legacy. Help us to do so in the name of all that is right and good in your sight. And tonight there are those among us who care and do all they can to be good stewards of that which has been given to us through your grace. Indeed, the future direction of this community carries with it much responsibility. As Council navigates through tonight's agenda, we simply ask that you give us clarity of thought, wisdom, tenacity, and compassion for all whom we represent. In thy name we humbly pray. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call vote, please, Liz.
Bryce?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
Silas?
Present.
Eschman? Skornikov?
Yep, Mr. Eschman is absent with notice.
Sleva?
Here.
Wills?
Here. You have an agenda in front of you. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions in the agenda?
I did have. Just have to find where that page is. The agenda, see, I have this copy, which I just gotta find it. Thank you.
Is that the one you're looking for?
Yeah. Which I had my notes on it, so just one second. I think the old business, maybe, did you modify this since it was sent out?
I don't believe it has.
Okay, it's the same, okay. Because I had 10 as old business. I guess, and I don't know, this doesn't match this agenda as far as the old business being A, it's referenced as B.
Should be A, that should be A.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then the numbering on that, on the back, is not matching this one, where it should be 10, 11. It should be, 11 should be 12, and 12 should be 13, and 13 should be 14.
So we're just moving things down.
Yeah. I think that was it.
Good catch.
What she's talking about.
Any others?
I thought she was talking about this one.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'm glad you are.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Dialis, supported by Councilman Butsu to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Agenda is approved. We have minutes from our April 24, 2017 meeting.
I'd like to make a correction. Under 9, old business, second paragraph of the recreation passport grant. Manager, correction, spelling,
Bottom of page 2.
last sentence.
Oh,
To be present at their visit and
I don't.
pose in, remove to, and I would insert in. And then also under B, skate park management, just have a question, it's running from May to October, but in our packet, it had, it's referencing dates to November. So I don't recall if it was actually stated in October last month in the minutes, or if it was November, but it's conflicting with dates.
My recollection is October.
Okay, so then this here in the letter where it's referring back to, this says October, I have something else that references November. I think his little handout sheet that he supplied
Mr. Waybrandt? right?
Yes.
Mr. Ray Waybrandt?
says November.
He's at it again.
On the back of his letter, the last paragraph. No, not that one. Sorry, not that one. There's a reference in our meeting packet that says November. Let me just get my hands.
Mr. President, if I could just try to assist, the flyer that Mr. Waybrandt has supplied as of this year shows the last session being October 9th through November 3rd,
The last session,
last proposed session.
proposed session, yes.
So that, yeah, that's like in his little,
Session number 6, so
yeah.
those dates may not correlate with what he initially proposed to council last September when he
It doesn't, because he has through October in his letter of September 28th of 2016. He says October. And then in reference to his April 26, 2017 letter, well, we can get to that. He's referencing a 2014 date. So I guess at that time, at the time of our meeting last month, it was October, because I believe his information came after our meeting. Would that be correct?
Well, I guess if you want an exact date of start or finish, then you would put both dates. If not, it is the last week of October, ending 3 days into November. It is through October. So I guess it depends on if you want to start with the actual May 8th date and end with November 3rd date, or say May through October, which would be correct in both accounts.
Well,
However we
through,
want to specify it.
yeah, through.
So what is your,
Well, it's just to clarify.
what is your pleasure?
clarifying-
What is your pleasure?
Clarifying if this letter came in, oh, it's not dated. So I guess we'll just leave it as October, just with the understanding that it's not exactly, because this came in afterwards. That's fine, we'll leave it as October.
Okay. So we're not making a change, other than some editorial changes?
Just, yeah.
And those are both on the bottom of page 2, the grammatical.
Yes. Under C, the quitclaim, if I recall correctly,
Under C,
yeah, the quitclaim deed for the village park,
page 3.
page 3. Trustee Eshman, read the quitclaim deed based on his interpretation of that. But then I believe we had clarification that Manager Trent provided that was from the two attorneys' opinions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's not referenced here. And I guess I would just like it to state that that was Trustee Eshman's interpretation, and then information was received just to put both pieces in there, that the two attorneys' opinion, and that should be put in there.
That is a valid point and a valid concern.
I mean, we still had the motion, but I think we just need to make sure we have the full part in there, because I think that was an important entity.
Right, to reference the paperwork, I agree.
So, Mr. Trent, do we have the dates of those attorney letters? Because we need to, if we're going to amend this motion, you need to reference those particular.
They would be available. We can provide those to
Well, I don't think we have to
Clerk
amend.
Edwards as far as, specifying the dates of those legal opinions provided by
Edward.
Gerald Fisher on, I think it was
Just as a reference
early
point.
April, and we received Mr. Gildner's, I think, the day of the meeting.
I don't intend to change the motion. I was just wanting to put in the reference that two attorneys' opinion was sought, and their opinion was, and we arrived at this motion.
Yeah, we're not changing the motion, we're
Right.
changing the discussion.
Right, we're adding,
adding
we're
the detail,
adding,
correct.
we're just adding the other piece to it.
So basically, what you want to do is you want to amend the minutes to
Include the
ref-
attorney's opinion.
reflect both legal opinions of Mr. Gilner, our current attorney, and Mr. Fisher, the attorney at the time that the gift was made to the village. Both letters dated currently.
Is the first paragraph then, the whole paragraph is then just trustee Eshman's opinion?
He read it based on,
It is his opinion.
Because
He's not
this isn't the words out of the quitclaim deed, so this
Right.
this
This is
paragraph
just
is
his interpretation.
his opinion.
Is his opinion not as an attorney.
Correct. So should that,
he read it, if I recall, he read what it was stamped, so.
I understand, but
Yeah.
that's not what, these words in the paragraph aren't from the quitclaim deed. So the words in the paragraph are his opinion of the interpretation of the quitclaim deed.
That's correct.
So again, so my only question is, should that be noted that all of this in the first paragraph is trustee Eshman's interpretation of that?
I would say so, yes.
But I guess it's,
Would you agree? Anyone else?
I agree.
I guess it's conflicting to me, because I think it's both, because he actually read from the quitclaim deed, so it wasn't his opinion, he was just reading out loud what was stamped on the quitclaim. So it really wasn't his opinion, he was reading it to us.
Well, wouldn't that
So
be
it's not an
trustee
opinion.
Eshman read the use requirements, that is the facts, and then continues on with his opinion on must be used to be made
So it just
available,
could
blah,
be-
blah, blah.
He went
So it
on
would
to
be
say, he
both,
went on to say,
stating that.
sentence in the third line, he went on to say, well, that, again, that's his opinion.
Yeah.
So I think it's, states that.
So you think that that's okay as it is and just add the attorneys? I just knew the attorney information was missing, so,
Yeah.
and since he read it.
I don't like the way it's written at all. I want to say that if the village were to use the property as anything other than a park, would take the village to court.
Well, I agree, I didn't care for the way it was worded either, but,
Well, can we say instead of he went on to say, his opinion is that if blah, blah, blah.
Okay, I would strike sentence 3 in its entirety. He went on to say that if the village were to use the property, because that is his opinion, so that should be struck.
and for clarity, was it his opinion, or was that actually written on the quitclaim? If I
No,
recall,
no, no,
I
no,
thought
no. They have,
That's his opinion.
that's his
If it's
opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't
misuse,
written
they
on that
can.
it was
Claim.
not stamped
No.
on there. Okay.
No, they have recourse.
For misuse against those
misuse.
two things that they said you cannot use it
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I would agree with Wayne, just strike,
I don't have,
strike
have
the
a
sentence.
copy of it to
Strike that
validate
entire sentence.
That's a good question. Is there a copy?
That
You
should be
never
probably
received a
housed,
copy of that?
that should be probably copied with the minutes. Attached, I would suggest,
With the letters?
with the minutes.
Yeah, and so strike that sentence and add the current attorney legal opinions.
Did you want me to attach the letters directly to the minutes then?
Absolutely.
And then make reference to it that it's attached.
And then to say it was noted that it's considered a wetlands, it was noted that it could be, we don't have the paperwork, that was not attached, we have not been provided with that either. Yes, it is, but
Yeah, well, that
With
says
what
that in the
information?
master plan. And it calls them priority to
Right.
wetlands in the master plan.
So that's correct, it was
So
noted that the
that's
property,
correct.
that's correct.
That's correct, yeah.
right, but okay, as long as it wasn't attached to Dan.
And the
because
motion
you did
itself
bring
is
that up, not
fine.
Dan.
Right, the
Motion
motion
is-
should remain.
Okay, any other comments, corrections? Do you have the grammatical changes noted, Liz?
Page 2, I have the correction of the spelling of manager Trent, but then I missed the second thing.
Oh, and pose in the DNR, not to the, let's see, be present at the visit and pose to, yeah, Yep, leave that as,
That's it?
yeah.
Just the one? Okay. Okay, I'll make motion to accept as amended. I move that we accept the minutes of the April 24, 2017 minutes as amended.
Support?
Motion by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Bryce to accept the minutes of the April 24, 2017 meeting minutes as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried, the minutes are accepted. Item 7, disbursements.
Acceptance items,
Well, you have to act on it, it's there.
I know, but we did,
You have item 6, acceptance items, you have the treasurer's report. And we have the disbursements in the amount of $12,210.83.
I have a question, our report indicates 13,210.83. And our agenda says 12 to 10.83.
Yeah, it's $1,000
$1,000.
difference.
Did anybody run the numbers?
I can explain it.
I knew there was an explanation. Okay.
At the very end, we added the, which I don't think David captured on the agenda, we added the Friends of Amos support for the fireworks on the report.
So it was added as the last item, but did not reflect
But the agenda
on
wasn't.
the agenda.
Well, that's what I figured it was.
Okay. So when we make the motion to accept the disbursements, we need to use the item that's not on the agenda, but it's on the report.
Right.
Yeah, 13 through 1083.
Okay, now are there questions?
I have a question on number 2. Just, what type of training did Bob attend?
You'll recall I mentioned in my manager's report last month that he attended training he attended 3 sessions. One was a webinar in-house on pavement issues. The second one was with the Michigan Repaving Association, I believe it's referred to. And then he also attended another session that was a half-day seminar. And they were all related to helping
Street inspection.
street inspection, pacer evaluation, things of that
Okay.
nature.
I make a motion to approve our bills in the amount of $13,210.83 through May 15th, 2017.
Support?
I support.
Gotta quit waiting.
I think Keith did.
Motion by Councilman Bryce, supported by, Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Bryce. Any other discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote, please, Liz.
Watsu,
Yes.
Silas,
Yes.
Skornica,
Yes.
Sleva,
Yes.
Will,
Yes,
Bryce.
Yes?
motion is carried. Item 8 on their agenda is items from trustees.
Sure, we'll start with me. The Planning Commission, I guess the biggest thing to bring forward is a request to have a meeting with the DDA and the Village Council and the Planning Commission. We haven't had one of those meetings, I don't know if ever, much less, not lately. And we want to have that at least annually or biannually, so we can all discuss what projects that are going on, but also to review our master plan as reviewing it. Some of the projects in there, we're starting to move in different directions, and so we need to look at maybe updating that with the current projects and some of the directions that we're moving forward in. So we need to set up a meeting here in the near future.
Besides what's on our agenda, there is nothing else with recreation.
Anyone else?
The documents on demand, met with Liz and we went over the trial period. Liz is currently working through the user testing phase of that software. Things seem to be going very well. We expect that we will implement our council rollout for our June meeting, so stay tuned, and email will be coming as far as like how to go about and access it and things, like walk you through that. And then that will be our trial period and see how, see what bugs, if any, we have to roll out from there. And some of the process improvements that were requested, we've learned that they already had planned in their next release update coming later this year, so that's good to know. And we expect to fully implement that in accordance how things go with our June thing, and maybe, let's say we'll do another trial in July and then fully implement it for August, would be my expectation. And then Liz will, once we go live, then Liz will develop the operating procedures. That's it for me.
I have a question regarding that. At some of our different meetings, we've referenced maps of the village, street maps or just some different maps, I
Residences.
guess. Yeah. So is the plan to have some of those, a directory for maps on there as well?
No, through the documents on demand?
Yeah.
No, we scanned with our other project, if you recall, the maps
Yep.
were too big, they couldn't accommodate those, and then you lose the integrity of the map because it downsizes it so small you wouldn't be able to read it. So
Okay.
we retained those individual property maps and some of the commercial properties that are in the village property in a special filing cabinet, and we made note in the scanning file that there's a map on file.
I know
So-
we have some maps of the village that are PDFs. So I'm wondering if we shouldn't have a directory for maps, and any maps we do have in PDF form that we could put on there for the public to access.
You know where those reside?
Yeah,
The maps, the PDF
Yeah,
maps?
and you're talking specifically about street map.
Well, any of our village maps, we've had different maps created for different reasons. So any of those maps that we have in PDF form,
We could do a directory for that. I don't see why we couldn't.
Yeah, I don't see why either. I mean, when we did that, it was pretty much our property files.
Sure,
And that's
yep.
what, and the commercial files that were retained in there, but anything just from a business perspective, our business maps, yeah, she can create that.
I will just indicate that the DDA, just to bring the public and this board up to speed, the DDA, or more precisely, the 501c3 suborganization of the DDA, which is a wholly owned 501c3 of, as I say, the DDA. They're the fundraising arm that's going to be working on, that are actively working on the fireworks for our community. And last time I heard, we were about $2,000 short, or thereabouts. Is that about right?
That's my recollection.
So they've got about an $8,000 program. So they've raised about $6,000, which is pretty great. And I'll give them all the credit. Spearheaded by Jeremy and Jason Kratt. So just keep that in mind. If you have there are out in the community certain collection boxes if you'd like to donate. And it looks like that will happen. And it will be happening. Do we have, what's that exact date? Do you remember?
For the fireworks, June 23rd,
June 23rd.
Friday night.
Friday evening. So it looks like it is going to happen, and it was through the effort of these individuals and the Friends of Amos, which is, for those of you who aren't familiar, Amos, of course, was the first name of the founder of Ortonville, Amos Orton. And so that is an acronym for always making Ortonville strong. So, anyway, so that's the extent of the reports that I have. And again, we thank those who have been most generous in their giving towards keeping the fireworks at a level of, it would be a great entertainment and a great opportunity for those in the village to take advantage of our community.
Okay. Mark?
Did you have?
Oh, I'm sorry. The fire board did not meet this month,
Okay.
so I have nothing to report.
I went to the Ortonville Community Historical Society meeting, and they have several projects underway. One is they've replaced the door at Mann's School, and they're currently building a new cupola to put on top. They are also looking to purchase a 15 by 20-foot tent. The library will be hosting a program on the Orphan Train of Michigan, and that's going to be held 7 p.m. at the library on June 21st. The museum has also purchased 3 new mannequins, and Ron Sutton is working on filling in the high school composite graduating class photos. He's working on the years 1974, 76 through 81, 84 through 85, and 1988 through 2016. And lastly, Shauna at the library is working on digitizing all the Ortonville obituaries. I talked to her a few days ago, and she said she only had to complete the 1940s obituaries. So those, we'll be able to put all these obituaries,
All of them?
yes, from way back there.
From 1940.
No. She, at this time,
right,
she
that's
didn't
all
work
she's-
them work on them in chronological order. She was working on the 1940s, but, I think they're going back to the beginning,
1848?
possibly, whenever they started printing them. So,
That's impressive.
yeah, it is. It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Mark, thank you. Thank you all.
You can have that copy, because I got a copy at home.
So now we have item number 9, public comments on agenda items. Anyone like to speak to the board on agenda items that are up here on the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move forward then. Item 10, old business, skate park sessions. What do you have for us, Manager Trent?
I was anticipating that Brandon Township Parks and Recreation Director Fred Waybrant would be with us tonight. I'm assuming he may have had a conflict out at the Ball Diamond, or something came up that he is not currently present at the meeting. But he asked that we approve the use of the Sherman Memorial Park for all of the sporting activities this coming year, as well as the use of the concession stand that has been used in the past. To help distinguish the use of the skate park, we've moved that particular agenda item into old business. It was an item that this council approved last month for session 1 to be conducted, which is a 4-week session. Excuse the typo in paragraph 2 that indicates that he was seeking authorization to run future 3-week sessions through October. And as we've discussed earlier, that would be through November 3rd for the 4-week sessions that are being proposed. As of the middle of last week, Mr. Waybrant had received enough registrations to conduct session 2, but that was partly predicated on receiving a sponsorship support to make the session a break-even opportunity. And without Mr. Waybrant being here, I cannot indicate to you whether or not that has taken place or not. So the proposed motion was to allow Brandon Township Parks and Rec to utilize the skate park for 4-week sessions for the balance of the 2017 program, contingent on the required minimum number of registrations being received. In addition, there would be a requirement that the council reserves the right to cancel future sessions if complaints from neighbors are brought forward for the improper usage of the skate park. Thus far, based on the assessment from Mr. Waybrant, my perusal of the skate park between the hours of 3 and 6 o'clock, comments from nearby citizens, especially one who lives immediately next door, is that between the hours of 3 and 6, when the sessions are being conducted, everything has been running smoothly and there hasn't been any issues or problems at all. Concerns obviously are generated if kids jump the fence after hours. But as far as the session program itself, there have been no issues or complaints brought forward. The site monitors that are being utilized have a lot of talent and experience in the world of skateboarding, and are teaching the young kids that are learning how to skateboard the proper techniques and utilizing good safety methods while they're there on site, especially the use of helmets and being patient so that people that are not as well-versed in skateboarding don't get in the way of those that are. So my recommendation, and if Fred were here, he would be also encouraging you to allow him the flexibility, if there are enough registrants for each session, to allow those to take place when registrations and the financial need is met, so that he doesn't have to come back on a monthly basis for your approval. And again, if there aren't enough registrants, the class would be canceled, and we can obviously update you month to month on the status of any sessions that might have enough registrations to make it worthwhile to hold the session.
So session 1 didn't happen because there wasn't enough registrations, right?
No, session 1 did go forward,
It did.
and there were enough, and plus with the help of a sponsor, there was a sponsor who actually helped pave the way with the registrations that came in.
Okay, so, we haven't yet, I guess I'm just a little puzzled as to how this is relayed to us, because it hasn't ended yet. It doesn't end until May 26th. So with it saying that it's ran successfully, it's still not over, and he proactively addressed many of the past issues, what did he do, how did he address those? What has he done?
Well, some of the issues that were discussed at this council table last month dealt with age of participants, rowdy behavior, lack of oversight. And though those have been addressed through mentoring of the site monitors and him taking an active role in ensuring that what is going on there between 3 and 6 is what is advertised. And again, I've gone by there on a number of occasions and haven't seen any issues or problems. And I've talked to one of the neighboring residents there, and they have acknowledged that, when they get home, between 5 and 6, there are no issues going on. There's been a couple of incidents after hours, but those have been few and far between compared to years gone by.
So how many total enrollees or participants do they have at this point?
I think for this current session, they had 12 that signed up, and then with the financial support that was provided, it allowed the program to move forward as submitted last month to council. Right now, they need 23 registrants for session 2, and the last I heard, they were at 12 or 13.
So he continued to take registrants, even though we only had approved the one session? He continued to take the registration for the other
He already
sessions?
had, when we talked about it last month, some people said I couldn't come to session 1 because they were still in school. I can come to session 2 because it starts at 3 o'clock. Kids don't even get out till 4:15. So the after-school program filled up before the first program.
And to address your point, Mrs. Skornica, is that there has been ongoing inquiries from parents and children that either come into our office or they come into the township hall here for information on how do I sign up. So,
Seems to me that the bottom line is that we were requiring 23 to break even. And it hasn't happened. Do we know for a fact that this donor has in fact paid up? Has he in fact paid?
oh, for session 1, yes. For session 2, that's an unknown, Mr. President.
It's the same people that asked to contribute last year and the year before, and the check was given back. So this year they contributed.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Brandon Township Parks and Rec Department to utilize the skate park for 4-week sessions for the balance of 2017, contingent on the required minimum number of registrations being received, and the Ortonville Village Council reserves the right to cancel future sessions if complaints from neighbors are brought forward for the improper use of the skate park.
You are saying 4 when my motion says 3?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah,
typo.
he changed it.
4 is the correct.
Okay. We have support?
Support?
Motion by Councilman Dylas, supported by Councilman Bryce. Further discussion.
I'd like further clarification on the complaints from neighbors are brought forward. We do have a neighbor that's unhappy with it, we know that. So if they complain, is it over? I mean, it has to be
More
not
than
the
just
squeaky
that.
wheel, it is what is best for the community, not one person. So I guess we need to somehow define where we would go with what is a complaint by neighbors. What do we consider, our line?
Well, I've been very clear that I am not pleased with being cussed out personally by a young man as I rode my bike by one day. So,
During this session?
no, last year.
I was gonna say, I walk there almost every day, and I
Okay.
haven't seen anything this year. But that doesn't mean there may or may not be something. I can't be there all the time.
So if one neighbor has grounds, then that's plenty for me. That's my personal
It's been
opinion.
so ongoing.
I have a question also. I mean, the original was 23 participants to at least do the break even. And we're not getting the 23 participants, even though there have been people sponsoring the rest of them, which I think is nice. But I still think there has to be a break even, and we're not getting that. So I'm not real happy with that.
But correct me if I'm wrong, the township is handling the funding of the supervisor. So it's not coming out of the village council.
Oh, most definitely. It's not coming out of our pocket.
Right.
Nothing is.
Correct. So as long as, I
Well, that
guess,
was-
who's gonna monitor and verify that
That there's really the 23.
that they're really breaking even? I
Right,
mean, that,
who's looking over those books, so to speak?
But are we advocating how many teams have to play ball, or how many children are on the basketball court, or how many kids are at the skate park? We're advocating that we are not spending our money on something that may or may not be working. If it's going to be a good place for our youth and somebody is going to be paying to sponsor that, why are we deciding whether 20 children or 12 children benefit?
Because the number was here, and we're trying, you know.
Right,
There's
but
a
I'm
number
saying,
written down.
if it comes down to a money thing and he's not making money, he wouldn't do it. If he's going to make the money, I guess, I mean, are we splitting hairs? I would hold a program, whether I'm going to have 5 children or 25 children at the library, because I'm benefiting 5 children. Depends on the cost of your program. And if he's going to say, if he can meet that cost, I guess that's not our decision to make, that's his.
Well, we have a motion on the table, so we probably could,
yeah, it all falls back on the complaint issue, as far as I'm concerned. So financially, it never was an issue, even when we managed it. It was more of an issue of if it's good for the community, good for the neighborhood. The taxpayers, to me, have more say than if the kids can't control themselves and they would lose their privilege. That would be my opinion. Because the taxpayers have more weight than that particular privilege for those kids. Okay, so any other questions? There being none, would you, I'll call for the question. Would you read the question again, please, the motion?
Motion Motion by Dylas, seconded by Bryce, to authorize the Brandon Township Parks and Recreation Department to utilize the skate park for 4-week sessions for the balance of 2017, contingent on the required minimum number of registrants being received. The Ortonville Village Council reserves the right to cancel future sessions if complaints from neighbors are brought forward for the improper usage of the skate park.
Thank you, Liz. All those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4 in affirmative and 2 in the negative. Item 11 under new business.
Can I just back up 1 second, since that motion's passed, since the motion, it says for the balance of 2017, it's not even giving an end date to say November 3rd, we're just leaving it open. I mean, since that is stipulated, shouldn't that probably be stipulated in the motion? And not leaving it open-ended for the balance of 2017?
It's only for the proposed sessions that are being,
It doesn't say that,
Recommended.
though.
but that's what the Parks and Rec Department has proposed. The last session would be,
It's all going to be contingent on
So
the
because
weather
it
anyway.
says above
Okay.
sessions through, that
just-
already covers it.
Yeah.
It's just, dates and everything is very sloppy with this, because like this is referencing a 2014, one's November, one's October. So, all right, then that's fine.
So the motion is approved, 4-2. Item number 11 under new business. We have a Township Parks and Recs request to use the balance of the Sherman Park for program activities as they have in years past. I don't think there's any further clarification needed. I'll move to approve the request of the Brandon Township Parks and Rec Department for usage of Sherman Park for program activity in 2017, excluding the skate park.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Dylas. Any other questions, comments?
Just real quick, David, do you have any idea, I don't think you would, the senior softball program, have you heard anything further on that?
I have not.
Okay, I haven't either, I was just curious.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, too.
I thought that sounded good.
Since he mentioned that, I hadn't heard anything more about it either.
Yeah, they do a little.
No other questions, comments?
They put cards.
All those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried 6-0. New business 11B, CDBG Cooperation Agreement. This is a standard renewal of the CD Community Development Block Grant Funding Agreement, CDBG, that has to happen every year. And our community receives CDBG money every 3 years. So we do have a motion we have to approve.
It's actually a 3-year cooperation agreement with us receiving monies on a yearly basis.
The amount of those monies for 2016,
This year, it's $6,000.
and we've been turning that over to the senior center?
To OSEF has
OSEF,
been
okay.
the primary recipient for the past few years. generic heading, Public Services, Emergency Services.
So you have a motion, we need to have it acted on.
I'll make a motion to, should I read the whole thing?
Please.
Okay. To approve Resolution 2017-05-22-01, opting into Oakland County's Urban County Community Development Block Grant, CDBG programs for the program years 2018, 2019, and 2020. Furthermore, we resolve to remain in Oakland County's Urban County Community Development Programs, which shall be automatically renewed in successive 3-year qualification periods of time, or until such time that it is in the best interest of the local community to terminate the cooperative agreement.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Butsu, supported by Councilman Skornica. Any discussion about this motion otherwise? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried 6-0. Item C under new business, Oakland County SISMA representative and budget. David, what is that for our audience? Would you clarify that?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. You'll recall last month, village council members, that we voted to approve the memorandum of understanding from the Oakland County SISMA group to become a member, and we were officially approved as a member at their most recent meeting. And one of the items that came up in the discussion that you folks had was concerns about budget numbers and things of that nature. And upon doing further research with the program coordinator for SISMA and also interfacing with Kathy Thurman from the township, because they've been a member of SISMA the last couple of years and have received several $1,000s in grant monies to apply treatment for Phragmites and other invasive species in the township. We've been able to determine that we do not need to make a financial commitment. When SISMA makes a grant request, there is a matching requirement. Most communities are able to address that through in-kind services, which is what I am proposing as well today. And I've drafted a preliminary proposed budget for what our in-kind services would be, just under $6,750. And that number may change slightly as we are able to get additional information over the next couple weeks before the numbers need to be submitted to the Oakland County SISMA group for them to apply for the grant, which they are going to do the latter part of June. But the kinds of things that we can include are attendance at the SISMA meetings, the travel to the meetings, site assessments, and interfacing with private property owners to try to encourage them to allow us to have Phragmites treated on private property that they own. And also the treatment applications include contractor treatment applications where there is a number of vendors that are already approved by Oakland County for applying the herbicides to the invasive species. As I mentioned last month, Bob Hawkswell has a lot of familiarity on the subject matter because of his prior work experience in that field, and we're able to utilize any hours that our DPW utilizes in either treating invasive species, or a lot of times we'll be able to use these folks just for cutting down of the Phragmites, where after they've been treated, after the winter season comes and goes, that's the right time to trim the Phragmites down so that they can be treated again. Basically, it takes 2 applications to wipe them out completely. So that's why it's a 2-year cycle process. And then there's permits and some certification training that we can try to utilize as well, too. The certification and training costs are very minimal. So altogether, we'd be looking at a preliminary proposed budget of $6,750. Most of that is in-kind services, so we would easily exceed the required match amount, which in years past has been 40%. So we're well over that. And any costs that we utilize in, let's say, the outside contractors, those bills get submitted directly to SYSMA for them to pay. So those bills don't even go through our budget. So again, I look at this as a win-win opportunity for us to be able to utilize our in-kind services as a large percentage of the match requirement and minimal expenditure for outside contractor for treatment. And as part of the motion in your package, I had recommended that I be the designated representative for voting purposes. I'd also like to recommend that Bob Hawkswell, our DPW supervisor, be identified as the alternate, partly because of his experience in this field, and also a lot of the attendees at this function are either in the DPW department or they're the hands-on, first responder people, if you will, within those respective communities for treatment applications and understand the process. I think it would be valuable if Bob attended a meeting periodically so that he can see firsthand some of the discussion that goes on this topic.
I move to appoint the village manager as a designated representative for the village of Ortonville to the Oakland County SYSMA with DPW Director Bob Hawkswell as the alternate representative.
I support that.
A motion by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Sleva. Any other discussions, comments?
I apologize, I missed last month's meeting. What exactly is SYSMA?
It's the Cooperative for Invasive Species Management
Association.
Association.
Okay.
It's a very effective program, very low-cost program, but it has to, be, the spray has to be put on in a very timely manner, in a certain way. And the lady who was here, I can't remember her name, but she
Leslie Clark.
in fact, did a very, very fine job, and this is her passion in life, is to get rid of Phragmites. And it's very important. So, kudos to her, but that's that program. So we have motion and support on the floor. Any other comments, questions?
I have one comment.
Yes,
Why
Mark?
do we need a permit to get rid of weeds? I mean,
It's the DEQ.
For the herbicides
There's,
that you're using.
there's,
Pretty strong stuff.
actually, it's a low grade, but it's still nonetheless comes under the DEQ.
gotcha.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item D, we have Planning Commission appointments. I will refer to the minutes from last month. In my report, I noted that Planning Commissioner Charlie Creation had resigned from the Planning Commission. It was noted that the council president can and should make a recommendation to the council for an interim replacement. Interim replacement would serve the balance of Mr. Creation's 2-year term, ending in 2019. At the time, last month, there were 2 potential candidates, Pat George, a retired teacher, and Roger Ingalls, a retired contractor. At that time, I nominated Mr. Ingalls and sought support from the trustees. I also noted that the process is to seek recommendations and the final appointment is made by the village council. Since then, it has come to our attention that there was another party. First of all, Mr. George refused consideration, so that left us with Mr. Ingalls. And then also, within the last week or so, another individual stepped forward, and both Mr. Ingalls and Debbie Olson are here tonight. Patty, I'm sorry. Patty Olson. So what we would like to do is to have both of you step up to the podium, if you would, and, yeah. Hey, Roger, wake up.
Well, maybe Patty could go first.
Anyway, Patty lives on, why don't you state your address?
Right on Allen Street. My backyard is Oakwood. You know that pond? That's my pond. 533 Allen Street. We've lived there 25, 26 years. Been married 22 of those years. We have 2 wonderful children that have gone through the system here. My son is the really good-looking little boy back there.
There he is.
Yes, handsome little boy, yes. Well, he's not little anymore, he'll be 18 in a couple weeks. But Melanie mentioned that there was a position, Melanie Ivelt, you all know Melanie. There was a position open. She thought I would be a good fit with the people on the commission. My husband owns Olson Construction. Many of you know Frank Olson. He's the one who had the opportunity to fix the door at the school. With his business, I have been familiar with all things construction, whether it be ordinances, whether it be cement, building, decks, additions, everything that he does and more. I have had privy to understand what goes on with that. I am a designer at General Motors. I work in structures, which is all those things that keep you safe that you don't see. So I have the opportunity to do something that is helpful, not just pretty. So, which you don't see it, so you don't know it's pretty or not. So I would like to have the opportunity to be there and be a part of this and do something that is helpful. I understand you have someone else that you might want to take, a look at and see, but if you would like me to, I would be happy to be there for you. Do you have any questions or comments for me, or?
A designer, so you're talking about a structural designer?
Yes,
Are you talking about buildings or talking about the vehicle?
the vehicle.
The vehicle
Yes.
designer?
Basically, you won't see what I do, what my group and I do, but because of what we do, when you get in a head-on collision, the engine goes down instead of into the cab like it used to. If you get in a quarter collision, head-on collision, you separate from each other. That's why the cars go away from each other instead of keeping into each other. When you get T-boned, instead of the car coming in 3 feet, it now only goes in 11 inches. There are all these things that we have been able to do to keep the passenger safe. Our crush zones destroy the trunk and the front end, where the cab is safe, where you and your children are safe, your families and friends.
Okay.
So,
I have a question, Patty.
Of course.
You said you're interested in serving. What was your idea behind that? Why now? Why, what were you interested in?
because it was brought to my attention that we needed somebody, and why not? I have, like you know, I will not have anyone at home after August because they're both leaving to go to school. And that's going to be very hard for me. So I need to fill my time because what do you do when they leave you? I know many of you have already experienced this, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do because they're my everything. So I
And
will
that's
cry
exactly
a
when I
lot.
got on here.
So
was-
you will,
Wait till the kids, then you do your thing.
yeah. So
Okay.
that's it.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Patty.
Thanks, Patty.
Appreciate your time. We have Roger Ingalls.
Hi, as you know, I'm here for the position. If I was asked to come in and speak my piece. So, I'm Roger Ingalls. I live 29 South Street, right across from the hardware. I've been a village resident for 4 years. Been in Brandon Township since 1990. So, quite familiar with the area. As far as construction, that's what I did was construction. I actually built the park, the skate park, actually. I also built the park out there on Hadley Road. And I built 4 of the fields as donations to the Brandon Parks and then the schools, and I've taken them over. So I've been very active in the community. Pretty neat. I was on the park committee when my daughter was 5 years old because we had no fields. And the year she graduated, we dedicated it. So it takes time, and I understand it. Now we're trying to get the baseball fields out there, and we're working very well with that. Getting the right grants, doing things there. Regards to planning, I've been developing land and building houses and commercial businesses for 35 years, starting in 1981. I have done probably 20 properties in Brandon Township, nothing in the village. Basically just 2.5 acre splits, simple. Ingalls Lane out on Sashbaugh Road is where I originally started. When it comes to what happens in the village, we need a good community. We need to get the DDA behind us and actually get people into the village. Quite honestly, living out there off Sashbaugh Road, most people don't realize, but the village is stuck over here in the corner of Brandon Township. We have more visitors from Groveland Township than we do really from Brandon Township because it's easier to go up Sashbaugh Road or Baldwin Road. And basically, once they get to the school, they turn around and go the other way. So we need anything we can do to draw people in. I think we need to figure out what would be a great staple, something really strong. I don't know if people think much of Lake Orion, but it's really grown, and they did that with a very fine restaurant. That little Mexican restaurant has just drawn people in, and that community has taken off, and they've done some great things. So that's what I think we need to concentrate on, and how we entice people to come in. That's what we got to figure out. The residents are great people. Our DPW is by far the greatest. I cannot believe how hard our guys are working. So you got to give them some great comments and great credits. Questions for me?
It's been mentioned by a couple people that there may be a conflict of interest that you might have. Can you think of anything that might come up as a result of the Planning Commission being a recommending body that, and if in fact there was, what would be your response to that type of commentary?
I think that's very comical, honestly, because everybody would be influenced if it's right next door to them. So everybody lives here in the township. How could you not be influenced? Regards to building something here, I believe we are forward and looking forward to this community. To hold somebody back over some regulations I don't think would be good for us. Let's try to work together and make things easy for a developer to come in and develop, and they can help us. Why would I have a conflict any different than anybody else? She's a builder. I'm a realtor. That's what I do is real estate now, so you know.
You don't do any construction anymore?
I do some of my own stuff on my own projects, and that's pretty much it. I've done sewers and waters for Village of Metamora, Oxford Township, Village of Oxford, Genesee County, Commerce Township. I did the entire water main project in the Village of Clarkston. But 2009, I had an auction, sold everything because of the economy. I had 30 men lose their job.
Other questions?
Did we put in anything, this is just word of mouth for indications we haven't put out anything?
Yeah, and quite frankly, in years past, we've we haven't had any competition to speak of when we have an open seat. Many times we have to twist arms to get people to do it, and so it's kind of a pleasant issue that we have to deal with, but, you know, I'm glad that we have two qualified people stepping forward, so I do appreciate you taking that initiative and taking the time.
Okay, I just want to say, you know, in regards to all the rules and stuff, ordinances, I definitely look at them, review them, and I understand them completely. This is one of the things we have to do to make things work in so many different communities. So by developing land, you learn what kind of rules there are. I have to say and compliment, quite honestly, it would be a very good asset for everybody here to take a time, go down to like the city of Auburn Hills or the city of Troy and see how one of their meetings are ran and see how professional it is. It is really a neat thing. I've been to probably 30 different communities for meetings, and it's pretty interesting. There's some great things. The one thing I could strongly suggest, if I could, is when before a vote is, most other communities give public comment for 5 minutes. They have a discussion at the end after it's all voted on, is basically why we have nobody come to our meetings, because our voice doesn't mean nothing, the vote's already done. And that's just kind of a neat thing that can be done. I don't mean to offend anybody, but when we sit here and we can't do nothing and keep our mouth shut until it's over, that's why I'm willing to be on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. So, based upon, again, the fact that we have two people, what is your pleasure? I mean, you can mull this over. Is there going to be a PC meeting coming up this coming month that we would need to act immediately?
just have 1 week left, right?
There's a meeting queued up on June 6th, next month, and the commission's taking July off because their meeting would have fallen on the 4th of July. So then they're taking July off and then reconvening in August. So it's the first Tuesday of every month.
No big rush.
Yeah. So, would you like to, I mean, we don't have to make a decision, that's my point. If you'd like to mull it over or talk to the individuals privately, give them a call. We can probably arrange to have their numbers if you want to talk with them. I did meet with Patty this past Saturday, and I have met with Roger personally myself. And so I'll leave it up to the rest of the board as to what your pleasure is.
Well, I've known Patty for 23 years, and Frank has done work at our house, and I know them to be a very good character, and I'd be ready to make a motion tonight myself. But
Okay? Anyone else?
I'm ready.
Either way.
Yeah, I could go either way too. I mean, if you know, if we're not gonna, you know, advertise, and these are the candidates that have expressed interest, and so I could go either way.
Okay.
Would we do what we did? Just write a piece of paper and tally?
Good?
I think that would be nice.
Okay. Do we have any paper?
There you go. That's fine. I promise. I'll share. Are they going down to Liz?
You can just tear part of it in half. I guess. No,
Karen, would you like to?
Can I share here?
What am I supposed to do?
write the names
Yeah.
there, write your choice, and then the clerk reads them.
Hmm.
Is this everybody's?
Yep. So Liz will tabulate the total, and we don't need to know the numbers, just if there's a majority for one individual. If it's a 3-3 tie, we'll
Sorry,
Next month.
Then we have
We want a plan B.
Did you see Frank came in and do the front? He's looking.
Oh, I don't know, do we? I think we actually passed everything.
Somebody just came to my house and said, would you like to be, we just moved.
Results are in.
Do you want me to say it? What do you want?
Yeah.
The majority.
The majority was for Patty.
Okay. Patty, the majority is for you to join the planning commission. Okay? Thank you again, Roger. Appreciate your time, as always, as a community member, active Lions member. And Patty, we look forward to you sitting on the planning commission for us and on behalf of the community. And along with Keith. Keith is also a representative for the planning commission. So thank you both for being here. We appreciate your time.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion. We need a motion for this, right?
Yes. Okay.
I apologize. What was your last name again?
Patricia
Olson?
Patricia, is it?
Patricia Olson.
Okay.
Patricia Olson. I make a motion to approve the appointment of Patricia Olson to the Planning Commission to complete the unexpired term of Charlie Creation ending in 2019.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Dylas, supported by Councilman Butsu.
That's a separate motion.
Don't we have to have the whole?
They're two separate items, weren't they?
No. We have to reappoint
Or
them
you
and.
want to do the whole thing? That's fine, too. Want me to reread it?
Well, no, let's
Could it be two
we'll
separate?
treat them separate. You can treat them separate. You
Because that's a 3-year term.
can treat them separate.
Yep.
This is for a balance of a 2-year term for Charlie Creation's position. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we'll have on the other one.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the reappointment of Lee Paulshin and Rick McAvinci to the Planning Commission for the 3-year terms expiring in 2020.
Did anybody support the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, again, we have a motion by Councilman Dylas, supported by Councilman Butsu to approve Mr. Palestron and Mr. McAvinci to 3-year terms expiring in 2020. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item E, under new business, sidewalk engineering proposals. David?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Last month, the council approved a sidewalk engineering proposal from Rowe Professional Services to submit a cost estimate for the sidewalk project on Narren, Myron, and Ball Streets. And they recommended that they break up that project in 2 to 3 segments. The first segment was to do the survey work, which I shared with you. There was some potential concerns about trees and utility poles and drainage ditches, et cetera, that could compound the installation of sidewalks. After they completed their survey, they conducted a site visit with me earlier this month, and I'm pleased to report that except for one knotty tree that's in the way, that can be easily removed, and it's dead anyway, but the rest of it's still there. The sidewalks can be installed in the proposed right-of-way for each street successfully. And so I asked them to provide an estimated cost of what this project would cost going forward, so that you had that information, so that if we decide we want to move forward with this project for the summertime period, that we would have a realistic ballpark of what the cost would be, and then that way that would approve their next phase of the project because their total engineering fees were $8,800 for this project. You can see the estimated cost, including a 10% contingency, is just under $50,000. So it's a pretty hefty investment in sidewalks for that northwest section of our village. But it's an area that you folks had the vision of allocating monies over a 3-year period at $40,000 a year. And so this is year one of that. We have not invested any monies in sidewalks to date. And just as a heads up, and we'll certainly review this at our budget workshop next month, the fact that the Cedar Street repaving project ended up costing more than was originally budgeted overall, and the fact that we haven't spent any money on sidewalks, our streets are pretty much breaking even for the year. And so this project, pending your approval to move the ball forward, would actually hit in next year's fiscal year. So just wanted to let you know that we haven't spent the $40,000 that was allocated this year because this project is just coming to the fruition stage at this juncture. So my recommendation, based on your desire to complete this project, would be to authorize me to tell Rowe to continue with the next phase of their engineering proposal, which is actually to put the project to paper, help facilitate going out for bid, and then with the administration of the project at that point. You never know, we might be pleasantly surprised. This is their estimate that includes a 10% contingency. We might find contractors out there that can do this work for less than what is estimated here, but this is their current state of the pulse of the industry as far as what pricing goes for sidewalk work and what's involved in this project with grading, et cetera.
So this figure does or does not include the engineering that we already approved?
Does not include, so. I
And
wanted
that
to-
$8,800 is coming from where? Which line item?
That's coming from engineering services. There's a line item, I believe, for those kinds of projects for engineers.
So this estimate is just basically the cost of the construction of the sidewalks,
That's correct.
period.
It's a rough estimate.
Rough estimate. And once the bids come in, council members, just as Rowe broke it out street by street, we would have the luxury to determine that maybe we only want to do 2 out of the 3 in the next fiscal year, and we can save the next street for the additional fiscal year to work within whatever budget parameters you identify as you review the budget next month. So we certainly have the latitude to be flexible. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can be a partial installation going forward.
So that would be your recommendation if in fact these numbers hold true? That if we got $40,000, it's in that line item, so that'll be, if it's 50,000, let's say, so we're 10,000 over. So we'd hold off on one of the.
Potentially.
One of the
Or
streets.
dip in and do it all. I guess I would,
Yeah, whether we dip into our fund balance, which is certainly an option that you folks can employ. Between our streets and our general fund, there's over $500,000 available. If you're wanting to make this a priority and get it completed within, the current summer construction project timeframe, you certainly have that privilege to do that going forward.
Might be able to get a-
Any thoughts?
do we make a motion first before we discuss, or do we just?
No, not yet. We're just discussing.
Might be able to get a decent.
One at a time, please. So we'll start down here. Karen, comments?
Well, my preference probably would be to stagger it. As far as, rather than to complete the entire project in one year, maybe we should stagger it.
Well, I'll stay within budget too. I mean, I don't know if now's a good time to pull a trigger on summer work, but maybe for next year. I mean, we're proceeding pretty good.
And we have some questions about either 4-inch or 6-inch concrete. I mean, I know it's minor, but
Well, just to clarify that on the quote, it's 4-inch thick concrete. When they have to cross a driveway that is just gravel, they would put it 6-inch there.
Okay.
So
that's my
that's the
question, too.
distinction why that cost is so much less. We're not getting a better deal by making the sidewalk 6
Or
inches
having an
thick.
option of the
It's only across individual driveways when necessary.
Okay.
And these are projected at 4-foot widths, which is what most of the sidewalks in the village are.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And that's wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Obviously, if somebody's coming from the other direction, somebody has to move, but all of the sidewalks throughout the village are 4 feet in width.
I know are those the newer ones or the older ones? Because I know that we had some that were wider at one point and we wanted to make them wider. So is the 4 feet, the wider ones, the newer ones?
Yeah, I think if I remember the history lesson correctly, there used to be some 3-foot wide sidewalks.
expanded
Those
up
were
to-
increased to 4.
Okay, so all right, so we're,
I guess I would just ask that, I don't know if we're gonna talk about it again before we get to this point or not, but when they go out for quote, have them quote doing 2 of the projects, and then what would be the cost of doing the third at the same time versus the third at a
because the
later
equipment's
date?
here.
Yeah, because I think it'd be significant savings to do it at the same time.
Right, because the
But
equipment
We
is.
can make that judgment call once we see what the
Yeah,
numbers look
I-
like.
And to piggyback on that, we have a 3-year plan. What are our 3 areas? Is the other area nowhere near this? Is that going to cause a problem and cost more the next year? Is it a different corner?
Right, what are the
That would make a difference as to when we do them. If it's one on this side of town and one on that side of town,
What-
why would
what-
you wait a year?
What are the ramifications of closing down the street, at the same time to see, what their plan is to have it all flow so that we have the least impact to the residents. But I agree, I think certainly bid it while they're here and then to see if we can save because the equipment's already here.
Yeah, that's a good idea, too.
And look at our
I
continual
guess we're
plans.
just
My
playing
initial
by ear then.
Yeah, we gotta wait and see what they say.
My initial thought would be, if we're trying to allocate around 40,000 a year and we're gonna come in at 50 or call it 60, I guess, to pick a number, then the following year, we would just decrease the budget.
Right.
Type of thing. Again, we'll see what the numbers look like.
Right.
And
Unless it's the street
as
next
Manager
to it.
Trent mentioned, we do have the option of taking money out of the
general
general fund, the rainy day fund we have, so for any difference. But the idea of having an alternate 2 out of 3
If we're gonna be saving, yeah.
This is a
in the
good one.
long run.
sounds good.
Mr.
And
President,
this is possible to have this completed yet this summer.
Absolutely.
So you think you'll have bids by next meeting?
Probably not till July.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize road professional services to complete the remainder of their engineering proposal for design and bid specifications for the sidewalk project on Narren, Myron, and Ball Streets.
Support.
A motion by Councilman Dialis and supported by Councilman Skornica. Other discussion, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 12, revised item 12. Under new business is public comments on non-agenda items. So these are anything under the sun. If you don't like the way the cats walk crossing the street, let me know. Yes, Mr. Wybrant.
President, Manager, Council, I deeply apologize for missing my part of the agenda. I was right in the middle of Sherman Park teaching kids how to be umpires. And I walked in a dugout and I had a really, really kind of expensive bat donated here a couple weeks ago by Lieutenant Glover. His boy outgrew it. So I walked in the dugout and I said, "Who's got their own bats in here?" And they're all like, "Oh." I go, "Well, too many, Yeah, I got one." And I said, "Well, who don't have one?" One little lonely boy way in the corner said he didn't have one. I made his day, gave him that bat. I walked back out, I have parents going like, oh my God, that little boy, prior to me getting there, told the coach he didn't have his own bat. And the coach says, well, there's recreation bats in the bag there, use one of those. So I made that kid's day, I made the parents' day. Of course, that started a long conversation, and I missed my meeting. Anyways, real quickly, a rec report for Sherman Park is that we do have 40, we're reaching the number of 50 3 to 4 year olds for our beginning co-ed baseball. We have 6 T-ball teams, co-ed. We have 4 coach pitch, co-ed. We have 6 machine pitch, boys, 3 machine pitch girls, 4 Little League boys, kid pitch, 1 girls pitch, the Colts, and then we have what that don't use Sherman Park, use the school fields, which eventually will be out at the park. 1 team of the 13 and over 14 age group. So I appreciate, from what I understand, you approved the use of the park. I greatly appreciate that. You'll see some additional improvements. We already sprayed the fields for weeds. They really look good. The DPW, of course, is the heart and soul of that park, and we just kind of put some polish to it as the rec department. I haven't heard anything on the grant for the concession stand yet, but we have been cleaning it and fixing some issues with drainage. DPW did fix a water leak for me, and we're going to be cleaning out some sewer pipes tomorrow. We are hosting a U8 softball or baseball tournament over the weekend. As far as the skate park, we have 17 kids signed up, and our magic number is 23. So if the park is closed the next 3 weeks because of that, that's the issue. Somewhere there's a woman that might approach and pay for that park once again, like another family did. So that's where we're at with that. I asked the skate site directors to be here tonight, and they couldn't make it. I wanted to introduce them to them. They're 2 great kids. They've been teaching the art of skateboarding, literally teaching down there. I've been down there practically every day for the 2 weeks and making sure everybody obeys the rules. They have been. A couple adjustments we made with a 14-year-old with too big of a bike on site. So things are really going well at Sherman Park, and I so greatly appreciate it. We wouldn't have the availability to run these youth programs without your support, and I so greatly appreciate it. And I want you guys to know that. And I'm deeply sorry that I missed. And thanks for the text. I'm like, oh. So I got on my horse and got here as fast as I can. But thanks, and my phone line's open anytime if anybody's got any questions.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred, for all your work.
Thank you. Yes. State your name, please.
Karen Anderson.
And you are residing where?
On Candace Court in the village. And actually, I didn't plan on speaking at all, but I'm curious how you came up with the roads or the streets to put the sidewalks in. I drive up Granger every day where people go 50, 60 miles an hour. The speed limit's the highest of anywhere in the village at 35 miles an hour, and it's not safe to walk on that road. Why are sidewalks not considered there? On the north side, which would be the village, are they in consideration? That's a very unsafe road. And I can tell you, that's one of the reasons I'm pushing for trails, because I will not walk on Granger Road. I drive someplace to take my dog for a walk. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention is, and again, Granger Road is 3/4 of a mile without a stop sign, so people get their speed up. Throughout the village, there's stop signs everywhere. They don't have an opportunity to get up to a very significant speed. And then for the skate park, we need something for our kids. I moved here 12 years ago from Troy. tons of stuff for the kids to do. There's nothing for the kids in Ortonville to do. They need something where they can socialize and stay out of trouble. So my kids are in their 20s. It's not for me. We need to do it for them. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roger, again, of course, and I live on South Street, so none of these streets matter to me where the sidewalks go, but I can say I walk the streets for exercise after my heart bypass, and I have to be very honest, we're doing the wrong streets. Oakwood Road and Granger Road are safety issues. We're wasting our money in the village. We have a nice 25-mile zone. We can walk safely in the street if we need to. The residents, did anybody ask the residents if they wanted the sidewalk? Has anybody asked the residents if they want a
Actually, I
sidewalk?
have, yes.
We have?
Yes.
We had an overwhelming response. Has anybody asked the people on Oakwood or Granger?
No, I'm talking about where we're
That area.
proposing.
We need to think about if we're talking about spending money, let's do it where safety is actually going to be a benefit. We're looking at the wrong spots. Walk the streets. Try to get down Oakwood Road. There's no way to get down Oakwood Road. There's no way to get down Granger. And these are fast streets. So let's spend the money correctly. Secondly, if we're going to talk about sewers ever, let's really think about saving our money for our roads and our sidewalks, because they're gone as soon as we put a sewer in. If we took this money and put it as part of our sewer project, it would take money away from the cost of the sewer project. So keep in mind, we need to get a long-term plan. We have to get sewers someday. We need to get a long-term plan, and we need to start putting the numbers together and start saving our money so we can put the roads back in place when we're done with the sewers, the sidewalks in place, and really have something done. I am pro-sewer. I am negative on the way we're doing it with the county bond. We need to do something with the sewers for a community, or this community is just going to stay exactly as it is. And as a realtor, we have several septic fields that are failing. At the same time, when we do our septic inspections, we need to look at a person count in a house. If there's only one person in the house or two people and they're elderly, who cares if a septic was put in 1930? I installed septics. It's about water usage. What we need to be worried about is a brand new septic system that's overloaded because kids take too many showers. So that's really where the issue is when it comes to septics. And in regards to everything, I've walked around with Dave, showed him what my thoughts are on different ways to run a sewer to keep it down in cost. But we need to honestly set back and get some good people together and discuss it and get a plan. And it has to be an entire community. Brandon Township has to get involved, and we have to bring the things together. The best thing this community could do is eliminate both boards and make one and make this a city. It works great for Auburn Hills. It worked great for Rochester Hills. And the unbelievable amount of money you get for your roads at becoming a city is crazy. That's why it's not the village of Clarkston anymore. It's the city of the village of Clarkston. There's great benefits to becoming a city. And when it comes time for doing sewers, it's called a special assessment district, just like we do when we do streets or sidewalks. Focus on the areas that need it and stay away from the areas that don't. Our biggest problem is we're trying to go up the top of the hill in the brand new houses that don't need it. So there's only a few areas that need it. Most of it is a business community. But if we don't have no business, where are people going to go? Somewhere else. And definitely, the park needs to stay open. There's always going to be one complainer. I'm sorry. They decide to live there. They can move. That is our community park. If it wasn't the skate park, it would be them playing basketball next to our house because something else would have been built there. We're blaming it as a skate park just because we utilize it as a skate park. If there was a basketball court there, they'd be complaining too. What about the neighbors of the basketball court? There's a lot more use there. We have a great police department, sheriff department. They can patrol it more often and keep it down. but we're gonna always have a complaint. There's always gonna be a squeak. If they don't like it, build a wall.
Thank you, Fred. Or thank you, Fred, yeah. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Just to address a little bit about the sidewalks, we are currently looking, and we have been for a couple of years actually, looking at Oakwood Road. And we're trying to piggyback with Oakland County as they redo the road. And we had a plan at one point, and it was thrown back in our faces. We were gonna widen the road and have just a walking area as part of the road, but then they said, Oakland County came back and said that was not safe. As far as Granger Road, I don't know that we've ever, you live on Granger Road, what is your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts to share at this time.
Well, eventually it'd be nice that there's sidewalks everywhere where we could all utilize them. I mean, that's not an argument, but I think part of this also pertains to pulling traffic off of Oakwood, which is an issue. We're trying to get people to maybe take the Narren route behind Beekys. So this is in assistance to the resounding information on pulling people off Oakwood. That has been the top priority.
And again, the trail route that was approved a year and a half ago was to basically make a sidewalk system that would allow people not to go on Oakwood Road. So you come make a circle around, go into Beekys, so that you're not really on Oakwood Road. That was part of that strategy. So anyway, we're going to move forward and move on.
As I said, I've worked with several communities. Please take a strong look. The village of Clarkson, the village of Lake Orion, the village of Oxford, told Oakland County, this is our road, because it is our road, the village's road, and said, we'll take care of our own maintenance, and took the money. Go out Lakeville Road, end the county maintenance. Come into village limits. Go into Clarkson, end the county maintenance. Go into Orion, end the county maintenance. Change it to where they don't want trucks, end the trucks. I don't agree with ending the trucks, but they ended the trucks on Burdick, going out to Seymour Lake Road. Orion Township, or Village of Lake Orion, cut off trucks going through Lake Orion. You have control of these roads. Don't listen to Oakland County Road Commission. Tell them what you want, or take your road back.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on then to items from the village manager. We do have your report in front of us. Did you want to accentuate any part of that?
Yes, if I could, Mr. President, I'd like to address the issue of sidewalks and roads. We are anticipating a proposal from Row Professional Services for a sidewalk project on Narren Road. It's approximately a quarter of a mile in length from Cedar to the edge of Beekys. And Row is going to submit that proposal not only to me, but to the Road Commission to see if that project could be utilized with our tri-party funds. And because of the amount of work and grading and things of that nature that would go into the design, Roe has already told me that the cost for that project is probably going to be double of what we have seen for our Narren, Myron, and Ball Street project. So the engineering work is more extensive, a lot more permitting, a lot more grading, more obstacles in the way that would have to be addressed to get a sidewalk in place on Oakwood. But again, I'm optimistic that the Road Commission is going to allow us to utilize our tri-party funds for a sidewalk project as an alternative to the shoulder widening project that they rejected for safety concerns. So we'll certainly keep you apprised on that as we move forward. Hopefully we'll have enough information by our June meeting to see if the Road Commission will utilize the tri-party funds for that project.
Now this route is going it gonna come out between the buildings at Bickey's, or is this gonna be along Oakwood?
It'll be along Oakwood.
Not, I thought we talked about going between the buildings.
No, well, that's another opportunity that is kind of tied in with the sidewalk project with Naren, Myron, and Ball.
Can Rowe do an estimate like this for the project for going into Beekys?
Yes, they're working on that.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Now, is this, how much of this is gonna be inclusive of Groveland Township?
At this point, nothing.
Well, it certainly goes into Groveland Township.
But the portion, the sidewalk, as far as where it will go across the last residence in our village, essentially gets to the edge of the Beaky property. And because because it's not a shoulder widening project that included Groveland in the past, there's no sidewalk extension once you get to the Beaky's driveway.
So the last 100 feet or so would be in Groveland, and the sidewalk's just gonna stop before it's just gonna end at the township line, the way it sits. Have we had any dialogue with the Groveland Township supervisor regarding that extra 100 feet or so?
Not at this point, but I'll be chatting with him tomorrow about another topic, and I'll broach that with him.
Okay, thank you.
As far as legal matters, the court issue that we're dealing with got postponed to June 7th. At 12:15 today, I got a communication from our legal counsel that there's a settlement offer that's been presented again because our legal attorney had another commitment tonight. He was not able to be with us, so that's a topic that will come up for your consideration in the near future when we can meet with our lawyer in closed session to discuss that settlement proposal. This coming Thursday, the local Board of Commissioners at the Oakland County level will be approving as part of their consent agenda a multitude of projects, a $1 million local road improvement pilot project, something that apparently took place last year as a beginning. Because of our size and the number of roads that we have compared to our friendly neighbors throughout the rest of the county, we are eligible to receive the third lowest amount of dollars for this project, but that should be approved Thursday. And I intend to go to that meeting and use it as an opportunity to talk to our county commissioner and others to try to encourage them to ensure that we can use our tri-party funds for the Oakwood sidewalk
And
project.
what is that amount of that third lowest?
$29.81.
$2,900.
Yeah, it's not $29.81, it's $2,981. But we will be able to use those monies for a crack filling project on South and Mill Street. We had to be able to tie it into business development and economic development and retaining businesses. I've already touched on C, just for our residents that might be watching at home and for those here in the audience, a friendly reminder that the annual cleanup days that's being sponsored by Brandon Township is coming up. The first one is June 17. We certainly can take advantage of that with our dual citizenship, as I like to say. So we'll be promoting that on our website, and I trust there'll be articles on that from our local newspaper as well, highlighting some of the opportunities that people can utilize. I think we had a very good workshop last week on our rules and procedures. Some that we discussed that there was consensus on. We'll be providing those updates so that you have that material for your further review as we discuss that going forward.
On that point, do we have a plan on how we're going to implement that? Like, is there 2 more discussion meetings and then implementation, or what is our plan for both the rules and procedures?
We hadn't really gone that far into the process.
Yeah, we haven't.
We were to take a look at it and reconvene.
When?
Well, yeah, Yeah, I guess my thoughts on it is, I think it's, great, but my concern is that we should have pretty much like one source or minimal different sources to go to for this. Otherwise, you update this and forget this, and we have already, the governing law that we go by, we have the Roberts rules, and then we have like some of the information that's already contained in our personnel manual. I just feel like having another handbook is just one more avenue of, something that's trumping something else and something that's not updated with something else. We don't have one source. It's just creating, to me, just more confusion, just adding another document for what purpose when we're taking, we're extracting from these different sources, and I don't think we should do that.
It's
I
defining the
personally-
rules and procedures of our meetings.
Yeah,
But that's
We
where,
don't have that definition today.
sure we do.
well, it's in the general village law book, but it's, as I indicated, it's not an easy read. And when I went to research it, it was almost impossible to follow. And I do not like it, and it is not user-friendly. So we need to have something that's more current and more updated. And that's why it was brought to this
Well, and I think
board's attention.
then it should be just that and not have, village manager duties or have duties specified in there. I think that should be extracted from it. So otherwise, I think we're mixing apples and oranges, and I just think it's getting too complicated with sources of truth.
Or there's overlap. Okay. Good point.
It might be something that you could handle in the personnel manual.
Just, I just think there's,
So again, the question is, are we planning another workshop anytime soon? Or how are we going to move forward and implement this?
I
Well,
don't think we've accomplished anything on it.
we should have another workshop, and, we have a budget meeting coming up. When is that date?
June 6th.
June 7th.
June
It's a
7th?
Wednesday at the village office, followed by a public hearing here the following Monday on June 12th, and then your regular council meeting on the 26th. So you've got a busy June coming up.
So not in June.
Trying to piggyback it on another meeting.
I almost think that requires a meeting all in and of itself, because it's gonna
We
be
can
an
just
hour, 2
focus
hours. Yeah.
on that.
Okay, let's set it up for July then. You send us out an email then, if you would?
Sure.
Float a couple dates out there, and then we'll get a consensus and go from there in July. Fair enough?
Yep, thank you.
That take care of it for you, David?
Chickens.
Yeah, I've added some additional material for your perusal. One is a follow-up from last month where, from your minutes, you'll remember the environmental report from EnviroAssist. I have drafted a letter that is ready to go out this week to property owners that are in that double-edged sword of high water table and soil. And so there's 25 residences that fit into that category. And if you would take the time to review that letter over the next day or two and provide any feedback on suggestions, comments, anything that should be included that has been overlooked at this juncture. But we just tried to provide a very generic letter to apprise them of the risk assessment that our consultant identified in that. And also, just to throw it out on the table, for the last few weeks I've been dealing with a concern related to the topic of chickens. Now, I'm not fond of chickens overall unless it's original or extra crispy. However, it has come to my attention that a number of folks in our community have owned chickens for 10, maybe 12 years. And it's been something where even though we have an ordinance that says we shouldn't have those within the village limits, people have had them, and for the most part, people have looked the other way. And I've provided you with some information that another large community that has
approved the ownership thereof, put in some guidelines and some restrictions that have to be complied with. And I would like to get your feedback on what route you would like to pursue on this topic. Do you want to allow chickens in and of themselves to be owned and have some very strict guidelines and requirements for their ownership, and to minimize the concern of neighbors who might have a concern with chickens? Or do you want me to lower the boom, which I'm more than happy to do, because I've already told you either original or extra crispy is fine with me. And we can have a barbecue on the 4th of July for those that can't find a home for their chickens. But if we're going to try to address any complaints from neighbors regarding chickens and enforce ordinance 93.06, then I want to play ball fairly with everybody and send a letter to everybody that they have to find a new home for their favorite pet within a reasonable time frame. So I look for your feedback and concern on that. Again, if I'm an advocate of, if we're going to have an ordinance, we should enforce it. If we're going to say, hey, we're comfortable with letting them exist and cohabitate with humankind, then let's put the requirements and guidelines in place that everybody knows what the rules are, and get everybody to step up to the plate and acknowledge their ownership thereof, and we've got a record of that, and there's a nominal permit fee to, have
But
ownership.
again, whether or
of those.
not you have a permit, or any ordinance of any kind, it has to be enforced. If it's not enforced, then what's the point of having it?
And that's what I was just going to say. It is more than a chicken issue. It is an animal issue. It is an owner behavior problem. It is not whether chickens should or should not be here. It is an owner who does not maintain all of their animals who live in their house.
Right.
So therefore, that needs to be addressed with an owner, not the entire community to pay for one person's decisions. The dog needs to be contained, as does everybody else's neighbor dogs. The roosters are not allowed. You do not have 2 acres. They need to find a new home. From that point, then we continue on, I think, with the other discussion, but that's another discussion, to me. Your dog does not belong in my yard, it belongs in your yard. That's common sense. So that, I think we agree upon.
Animals
You
at
all
large,
maintain
right.
your animals in your yard. And if that's not being done, I don't care if you have a hippo, keep it in your yard. So I think that's kind of 2 things at this point.
Well,
It's not being fair to the neighbors, no matter what you own.
Well, and the issue that helped drive this into my public view, I think has been pretty much resolved. It's, for lack of a better term, under the radar at this point. My concern is now looking at the big picture and trying to address the other instances of ownership of chickens that I've discovered throughout the village that I was not cognizant of before because I wasn't looking for them. And so now that they're on my radar, it's how do we address this across the board, not only for today, but in the future as well. And in a large populated city like Ann Arbor, where you can have some, dense neighborhoods, similar to, I think, what we have here as a microcosm of the village. People are allowed to have ownership of chickens in downtown Ann Arbor as long as they meet setback requirements, have them properly contained, and that there's a maximum number that you're allowed to have. And depending on the number that you want to have, you have to get approval from your neighbors that are adjacent to your property to ensure that they have agreed that they're willing to allow X number of chickens to be next door. And I think that's a workable solution that I wanted you to be able to have some background information on that. And if you feel that that's a workable methodology to address this issue, then I'm happy to draft the wording to accommodate that for your review next month.
So basically, you're suggesting modifying the ordinance.
Exactly. It's either we enforce the law, and I tell everybody that has a chicken that today and whoever I find going forward, that we don't allow these in the village, please, remove them within the next 2 weeks, find a home for them, and if you don't, then I'm gonna, issue you a civil infraction. But if we're going to allow them, let's modify the ordinance to accommodate that and come up with some reasonable requirements for the ownership of those.
Well, then the next thing, playing devil's advocate, the people who currently own chickens are going to want to be grandfathered. And then when you try and force that grandfathering one way or the other, then we're going to end up in court like we are current.
Not so, Mr. President. In review with our legal attorney, we have some safe footing there. But again, the fact that people have owned them for years and people have graciously, if you will, looked the other way because they haven't been considered a problem or a nuisance to neighbors.
Because they don't let them run free.
Exactly, because you're a responsible pet owner.
Well, and again, the ordinance says you're not supposed to have them.
Period.
If we're going to allow them, then one of the requirements is they have to be properly maintained. And there has to be certain setbacks from your adjacent neighbors, et cetera, et cetera.
It doesn't say that, though.
Well, the ordinance.
also says you can't have insects, so-
90.36 you're talking about?
Oh,
It
when
does
you
say
get
you're
into
not
the
supposed to have
nitty-gritty
chickens.
of the Ann Arbor
Right,
stuff.
right.
Right, no
yeah,
chickens
in
right now,
ours.
period.
Yeah.
In ours is.
Yeah,
Period.
right.
It also says
That's why I
no
gave you some
insects.
reading material.
I mean, come on. You cannot have insects,
Cockroaches?
I'm in violation.
but you can have a huge lizard and a snake, but, so it's very
It
inconsistent.
doesn't say sheep. Can I have sheep? I'd like to have sheep.
No, you can't have sheep.
It doesn't say sheep.
That's a no-no.
Oh, you won't have to hire your lawn
This is what
maintenance.
I'm saying.
Anyway, I would appreciate your feedback on that, and we can move forward with that, hopefully in a
Well, maybe
proactive
insect,
way.
Maybe they mean scorpion or something like
Yeah,
that.
scorpions are
Yeah, I mean,
fine.
it with a grain of salt.
Scorpions only hurt a little while. All right. Okay, thank you, Manager Trent. Appreciate your commentary as always.
Thank you.
Since there's no other information, or no other items to bring before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just one question. Sorry. But I guess the whole chicken thing, so are we going to review this and address this then at the next meeting?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
So this should be on the next agenda
okay.
to discuss, I would
absolutely.
think. And I just, with this letter that you drafted,
Regarding,
the property on the sewer, 20-some residents are
The
gonna get it.
septics,
The
yeah.
septic. Could we amend the agenda to put that on the agenda? I mean, I love the manager report, but I think that sometimes the manager report, some of the stuff should be on the agenda, just because we've had it in the meetings and discussion. I think it just
as follow-up to, as old business.
Yes, so I
Yeah.
think that this should be amended to, and I had it on my notes, sorry, and this earlier, I couldn't find it, that we need to amend the agenda to add this septic letter under old business.
So are you not good with the letter then?
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying about the letter itself is not on the agenda. It's in his manager report, so for consistency, it should be listed as an agenda item.
Well, not
under
after
old-
the fact, the meeting's almost over.
But, it was just for,
Should have brought it up earlier.
What do we need
We
to?
didn't have it to bring it up earlier. It was not on the agenda to bring it up.
Just
He
showed up
just
on
now
our
said, will you give us feedback?
You have plenty of opportunity to talk. I mean, come on,
Is the plan for David to go ahead and send that out this week or what have you?
I think he's
absolutely.
looking for
Yeah,
input.
I don't see any issue. I think the letter's fine.
But I mean, it was,
think it was
she wanted it to appear on the formal minutes,
Yeah.
the formal agenda.
Because we had it on last month's agenda, and then now we have it for this month, and it's not on the agenda as old business, just from a follow-up, so.
Point's well taken. I think it should be, when you have follow-up, you got discussion, and you deal with it, then it needs to come back as old business. So,
Well, we can put that on for the next meeting, can't we?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, can't it just be as simple, just amend the agenda to add that?
Amend which agenda when?
Today's agenda, just to add the septic letter under old business.
Oh, I thought you meant for the feedback to go into old business next month.
Well, that would need to be for
That's
next
what I
month,
thought
but
you
I'm
were
saying, otherwise we're losing track on our agenda of the topics, because it was on last month, and it's not on this month, and it's gonna be on next month, that's all. It's just for tracking, it's just consistency.
Mr. President, on that point, the council authorized me to draft a letter. I don't know that it's necessary to bring a letter back to the group as a whole for formal approval. You've authorized me to draft a letter. I'm giving it to you for your input. I don't know that we need a formal board action to do something that's a day-to-day operational process on this particular point. I apologize that I didn't get it to you sooner for your review. Obviously, I just dropped it on the table for you tonight. But it was a follow-up action from last month's meeting. I wanted to provide that information to you and let you know that pending any huge omissions, grammatical errors, or something that should be included based on the report that EnviroAssist gave us, that, it's a very, let's say, low-key, common sense, no pressure, just advising property owners, you're in this category. Here's some references that you can look to for background information, and feel free to contact us if you need additional services or information.
The larger question, David, is when, in the course of the meeting, that the public is made aware of what's been following up, what you've been following up on. If we wait till the very end of the meeting, as opposed to earlier in the meeting. If it's under old business, it's very early in the meeting. And it's brought out on the table that this was what happened last month, and now this is what's been done. And so it's known earlier in the meeting by all of us on the board and the public earlier on, that's all.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and I guess, I think her point is well taken. And I think, whether or not it has to be an action item to be actually there, it doesn't have to be.
Right.
It could be an informational, just old business, we could just state it, boom, let it go on.
Like in the past, we had skate park and there was no action taken, it's information, but it's a
It's just
It's a
earlier,
tracking.
it's just earlier, and it is tracking, but it's earlier in the meeting process, so that people don't have to get tired of sitting out there and waiting for, the end of the meeting or whatever to see if, are they gonna say anything more about anything?
It could have gone in under the manager's report, and that would have been follow-up, I think.
Well, it is, it's under the manager's report.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with that then.
in the agenda, on the agenda.
We can move one of the things we could do is move the manager's report up to, farther up the agenda.
Okay.
I mean, that is.
Does it make
not-
sense to have that as the first thing? And then if there's topics that come out of that?
Well, but the thing about it is, it might be later in the agenda that we're actually dealing it in detail. Okay, so when do you have your primary discussion on that item? As a part of the manager's
Is
report?
that the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Well, can't
Stuff on an agenda and just follow.
he say that will be addressed later?
Until it's completed.
I mean, that's kind of when I gave my report, it's gonna be addressed later, there's nothing for the report. Couldn't he say, these items will be addressed later?
Yeah, I've done that too, but when it comes to public input,
It's a,
The
like
environmental
one meeting,
Okay.
one particular
didn't see it
person
on
who was,
this report.
before she was elected to the board, I said,
And I
we're
think
gonna be discussing this later in the meeting.
It should have
She
been on
came up
this.
and took
just amend the agenda to put it
a lot of time.
can we do it right
Do you remember that?
More than 3
Remember-
minutes.
Do you remember that meeting? And willing to go to jail.
now? Is it too late?
And just to sum up on your comment, Mr. President,
I don't think we're done yet.
I know it.
that if we did move my report up to earlier in the meeting, if there is a topic that is going to be discussed as a full agenda item, we would just be making that passing comment. We wouldn't dwell on it during my report. That would be part of the
Well, if that's
report or
if
the
that's
agenda
case-
item.
If that's the case, then don't even have it on your report. If it's gonna be an agenda item, then leave it off your report.
Exactly. Your report is informational stuff other than our agenda topics.
I would say see an agenda, to at least
Well,
acknowledge it.
and you'll remember last month, I actually referred to that. I had it as part of my village manager report on the road proposal and said, you will be discussing this as part of your agenda tonight. So, so that's how we would deal with that kind of thing.
Okay,
You're right.
very good.
It's
Up in the
not.
meeting.
It's not.
yeah.
Very good.
All those in favor of the adjournment, please say aye.
Decide.